I went to the corner, my friends, they weren't there. They said, hey man, you want your share? I turned around and walked away. I didn't want to live nowhere. Street corners with the finest of youth.
Hey everybody, Douglas McCarron again. I hope you all are enjoying these. It seems to reach like 10 or 15 people. Not the biggest spread, but you know, it's what it is, and I like sharing these with you. So I hope you're enjoying them. If you know anybody you think might enjoy them, please share it. I'd appreciate it. Today, this is more of a kind of political, but also has to do with movies thing. It's how imagination and things like that get intertwined with how people hold on to things. I don't know. So I'm watching, I'm in the United States, and it's just as kind of interesting to watch how everybody is, well, I don't know everybody, but a lot of people personalize what's going on in the country, like the country is a reflection of their beliefs. And if you don't agree with them, you're a traitor to the country. And it's, the way people attacked, every president gets attacked as a socialist or a fascist for whatever reason. And generally, none of that really changes. We do seem to be having a real sticky situation going on now where President Trump is trying to use the courts to, bring the election along in the way he thinks it should have gone. He doesn't seem to be succeeding very much, but it's just interesting to me to watch. And I've been just like amazed how much conspiracy theories everybody has going on. Like during the whole time he was being looked at and people were planning to impeach him and everything, and people on various stations or networks are talking about, a newspaper would report something and they'd say, well, now we know this is true and blah, blah, blah. And it's just some newspaper reported it or a TV station reported it, and you then start extrapolating various theories about things, and then Trump's going to try and overthrow the country and impose a fascist government, which, that would be interesting to watch because I don't know if the military would get involved or not, but they have an oath to the military to the Constitution of the United States to stop all foreign and domestic threats to the Constitution. So that could be an entertaining thing to watch. But it's just really struck me how much people go into their own conspiracies. I've been watching, and this isn't exclusive to Fox, it's just an experience that I've had. It's like, the X-Files and the Sarah Connor Chronicles and all these shows they have, it's always there's this hidden conspiracy. And the government's trying to keep something from us, or there's a bunch of people trying to control it, and we got to get free of that and learn the truth. And it even goes into their talk shows, and it filters into their news programs too, though they tend to be not quite so out there. They tend to kind of just talk about the news, but it's just amazing to watch. And a lot of it is just simply, you got to stir up controversy to sell ads. And what I get amazed by is how much people get all involved in it and get excited by it and believe it. And it's also, Fox in particular bugs me because it comes across as this nationalist magazine, newspaper, on and on, television station where it's all about American nationalism, yet it's owned by an Australian. Now, granted, the guy changed citizenship, but he didn't show up here as any great fan. He wasn't an American. He just came here to make a bunch of money. So I recall he also talked about he was planning on getting full frontal nudity on American television within 5 years, and that didn't really work out. But it's just this, him in particular all over the world. Rupert Murdoch, all those newspapers and TV stations, it's always this conspiracy. The government's always hiding. It's the same thing over and over, and he just sits there and drills it into us. And in order to make money and sell ads. Now, same thing is going on over on other stations. Again, the whole conspiracy, and Trump was convicted and going to be, thrown in prison, and suddenly this weird thing happens where the law court sits there and go, well, no, you don't have the evidence, so go away. That's just stuff you're making up. And now, you have the counter thing going on now where there's this claim that all these fraudulent elections happened in the courts all the way down the line. I think maybe he's won one or two small points, but it's like, show us the evidence. You don't have any. And that's kind of the whole point of the law system and scientific method and things like that is people tend to worship their beliefs. We like to think we worship God, but we worship our beliefs and then claim that's God. And then we insist that has to be right. And everybody's got to go along with it or they'll strike out, So we have to have evidence as part of the law system. But it seems like there's a lot of people in the country that just, because they believe something so, it's so. I had a personal experience with this many years ago. This is I don't know if you can see it here, U.S. News and World Report. March 27th, 1976. Only $1.25. Jeez. And it says, yesterday's rebels grow up. Special 14-page section. And the reason why I'm bringing this article up is I'm in it. I studied theology. I studied history and theology in college. And a woman who worked for U.S. News and World Report called up one of my theology professors because she'd taken classes with him and asked if he knew of anybody that was into religion, but also was kind of a druggie, and on and on and on. And she got pointed to me. And I wasn't like a big druggie, but yeah, I had taken LSD probably 30 times in the course of 10 years. So I guess I kind of qualified. I was a shy young boy, hadn't had a whole lot of sex, didn't drink beer, things like that. But the thing that got me was, I'm going to read this to you. So, this is from page 44 of this magazine. 4 years ago, Douglas McCarron, an Army colonel's son, gave away his clothes and joined a religious cult that was into, quote, drugs and meditation. Today, McCarron, 23, is washing dishes in a Detroit area restaurant, preparing for a Roman Catholic baptism in May, and taking religion classes evenings at Michigan State University. This young American and thousands like him are slipping away from the exotic religions that won their attention and money a few years ago. In the process, many are joining a broader swing towards some of the nation's traditional faiths that is changing both the converts and the churches receiving them. So this whole article is, all that 60s razzmatazz, counter-revolutionary, different sort of religion sort of thing was, it was all just a bunch of young people, and they're growing up and coming back to the churches of their fathers. Now, it was interesting reading this because I'd spent an hour and a half talking to this woman, in which I said that, I hadn't had any drugs. I wasn't in any cult. My dad is an atheist, so he didn't particularly care much for what I'm doing. When I lived in East Lansing, Michigan, I was washing dishes in one of the cafeterias. But 4 years ago, Douglas McCarron, an Army colonel's son, that's all accurate, gave away his clothes and joined a religious cult. Never happened. And was into drugs and meditation. I had meditated since then, and I had taken a few drugs, but I wasn't in a religious cult that did that. I did bump into one group of people who they meditated and took LSD, but I met the parent organization, and the parent organization definitely doesn't do that. They live a very strict life, so I think these people are just kind of out in their own little universe. Today, McCarron is washing dishes in a Detroit area restaurant. I didn't live in Detroit. Preparing for a Roman Catholic baptism in May, and taking religion classes at evenings at Michigan State University. So apparently I was washing dishes in Detroit and then driving about 25 miles to Lansing, Michigan to take evening courses on religion, and then, living wherever I was. I don't know if I was supposed to be living in East Lansing and driving to Detroit to wash dishes or going the other way. It is true I was going to have a Roman Catholic baptism. The rest of this isn't real. So it was just interesting to have this hour-and-a-half long conversation where I talked about theology and why I believed what I believed. And, I wasn't part of a cult, but I was joining, the Catholic Church. And just to see them just kind of ignore everything I said, and they wrote their own story and stuck my name on it. I don't know for a fact. My impression was, I made this up. I don't know for a fact, but I got the idea that they already had the theory of the story already made up and written out, and they were just looking for people's names to stick in it so they could personify it. It says up here, special section, religious cults. Is the wild fling over? The boom years are waning for the Moonies and other exotic religions as young converts depart. Many are returning to the faiths of their fathers. Again, my dad was an atheist. He dabbled in Christianity for a couple of years and thought it was dumb. So you can imagine me becoming a Roman Catholic. There were some interesting discussions going on there. But it's just kind of, to me, highlights the whole media is, generally most media, news, outlets, papers, they all have a kind of a particular point they're trying to make. And they just kind of fabricate the stories to fit what it is they want you to believe. And they also try to stir up controversy because they want you to get all upset about it and buy stuff and, see the ads. And so they can justify to whoever it is puts ads in there that there are actually people reading these things and seeing their ads, so they'll buy it. And they're not making news, they're not reporting the news so much as they're trying to bring in people to look at the story so they can sell ads. I'm not saying anything that most people don't know, but I am kind of amazed watching the current situation in the United States, like how many people are just so bought into their particular views of what's going on. There's the left and the right. And where we're getting all our information is out of the news. So we sit here and the Proud Boys are standing up to Antifa, who's standing up to somebody else, and we get told, about who these people are. Proud Boys are white nationalist, fascist, blah, 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 and yet the two that I've talked to never talked about that. I don't know that Antifa actually is really an organization. It seems to be kind of a theory about among some people, but whether there's actually an organized group, I don't know. It's kind of like the hippies from the 60s. Hippies are actually a creation of the news. There were a bunch of people on the West Coast who were trying these different lifestyles, and pretty much by the time hippies made it on the news, the hippie thing was kind of over as a movement. There were still a lot of people going around smoking dope and getting high and meditating and having various sexual combinations or lack thereof. And that was one of the funnier things for me. I think it was called The Farm. This is like 40 years ago, 50 years ago, but supposedly a bunch of hippies there, and then a bunch of people would get there and discover it was a very strict, ordered meditation sort of thing. But a lot of people had this idea, I'm going to go smoke ganja and do a bunch of people with the alternate sex or my sex or whatever. It's just somehow that just got all made up. So, we're all living in our imagination. The cocoon's running us, and some people are talking about having civil war because their particular view of reality didn't get voted in. It's one of the big dangers, I'm not saying I'm not susceptible to this. I live in my own little delusions and theories and how the world should be and my judgments. I at least try, but I try to practice some restraint on it because I get that it's lying to me. And I know that, like, back in the 1800s, a lot of people would teach their kids, like, they weren't supposed to read romance novels or imaginary tales because they didn't want people getting caught up in their imagination. But, then they got caught up in their imagination in a different way. Whatever this thing is that makes us live in this image in our head, this power that runs so much of our lives, also at the same time deceives us. And it also keeps you from discovering who you really are and the deeper you. It's end up being this description of life instead of life itself. And, it shows up in movies. A lot of movie makers, they do the same thing. They're actually proud of the fact they generated this whole story and got people to come into it and believe it. And, they hand out awards over who did the best job of setting up a make-believe world. I don't know if there's anything wrong with it, seeing as we all live in our imagination, but I've just found that trying to get the real me awake discovered something totally other and calmer and peaceful than I used to have. Anyway, that's my thing for this week. Again, thank you for watching. I hope more people see this, but I'll keep putting that out because I enjoy doing it, and share this around if you would. Thank you very much. Till next time.